the beginning of everything. The galaxy was silent in a way that felt wrong. Not peaceful silence, but a silence filled with fear. Across thousands of star systems, alarms were rising one after another. Military stations blinked red. Trade routes were frozen. Entire colonies stopped sending signals. Something had gone very wrong. And for the first time in many cycles, the Interstellar Council was not in control. Deep inside the Central Council Station, floating above the dead moon of Arkan Prime, emergency lights filled the giant command hall. Thousands of alien officers stood in panic. Their voices overlapped in confusion. The Council had faced wars before. Small wars, border wars, resource wars. But this situation was different, because the enemy was not acting like any known species. Reports kept coming in, and every report was worse than the last. A fleet had disappeared near the Vorthak border. A defense station had been destroyed without firing a single visible weapon. A mining world had gone dark in less than 10 minutes. No warning, no communication, no survivors. It was like something was erasing them from space itself. At the center of the hall, the Supreme Council Speaker, an old species known as a Carent, stood frozen. His long breathing tubes moved slowly as he read the latest data. His assistant approached quickly. "Speaker, we have confirmed contact loss with 3 more systems." The speaker did not answer immediately. He only asked one question. "Who is doing this?" The assistant hesitated, then replied in a low voice, "We still don't know." A heavy silence followed. In the council, not knowing was worse than losing, because the galaxy was built on knowledge, on predictions, on control, and now control was gone. Far away from the council core, on the edge of explored space, the Vorthak Legion fleet drifted in formation. They were known as one of the most aggressive military forces in the galaxy. Their ships were covered in dark armor plates, glowing with internal energy veins. They believed in strength, discipline, and fear. But now, even the Vorthak commanders were silent. In the main command ship, the captain, known as War Commander Jarok, stared at the empty space in front of him. A few hours ago, they had been chasing an unknown signal near a mining cluster, a weak human colony. At least that was what the report said. Human colonies were usually not a threat. Small species, limited expansion, weak technology. No one expected anything unusual. But then the Vorthak scouting fleet arrived at the system, and everything changed. Now only silence remained. Jarok spoke slowly. "Replay the last signal." The communication officer activated the holo display. Static filled the room. Then broken images appeared. A human mining station. Simple structures. Thin metal walls. Lights still on. No sign of military defense. Then suddenly the image shook. A massive Vorthak patrol ship entered orbit. The humans did not run. They did not surrender. They did something strange. They stopped all transmissions for exactly 12 seconds. Then chaos began. The hologram flickered. A damaged satellite in orbit suddenly changed direction. It was not designed for combat. It was not even operational. But it moved with precision. It struck the Vorthak patrol ship sensor array. The ship lost targeting control instantly. Jarok leaned forward slightly. "That was luck," one officer said quickly, but no one believed it, because the next object moved, a cargo container drifting in space. It rotated slowly, then accelerated. It hit the ship's engine section with impossible force. The explosion was not massive, but it was enough to disable half the vessel. The Vorthak crew had no time to respond, and still there were no human weapons detected, no missile launch, no energy signature, no battle fleet, just objects, normal objects, used in ways that made no sense. The hologram ended. The room stayed silent. Jarok finally spoke again. "Show me human military classification." The officer answered, "There is none, Commander. Humans are a low-tier species. Their technology ranking is below standard defense level." Another officer added quickly, "They are not supposed to be capable of space warfare." Jarok's eyes narrowed, then explained what we just saw. No one could answer, because the truth was uncomfortable. The humans had used things that were not weapons, as weapons, and they had done it without warning, without hesitation, and without a known strategy. Back in the council station, reports continued to increase. Entire fleets were now refusing to enter human border regions. Some commanders claimed the humans were using junk warfare. Others said it was impossible and must be a misunderstanding. But one fact remained unchanged. Every encounter with humans ended the same way. Confusion, then loss, then silence. The council finally called an emergency galaxy-wide session. Representatives from dozens of species appeared in holographic form. Each one was more disturbed than the last. A reptilian commander spoke first. "We have engaged the humans twice. Both times, their response was unpredictable. They did not follow combat doctrine." A floating crystalline species added, "They're using non-weapon objects as destructive tools. This violates all known war laws." A mechanical intelligence interface spoke next. "It is not violation. It is evolution." That statement caused immediate disagreement. The council speaker raised his voice. "Explain." The machine intelligence responded calmly. "Humans do not define weapons by design. They define weapons by use." The room became tense. The idea sounded absurd, but the data supported it. At that moment, another emergency alert interrupted the session. A red transmission signal appeared from the Vorthak fleet. War Commander Jarok had sent a message. It was short, only 3 lines. "We engage humans again. We lost another ship. They are not fighting like soldiers. They are fighting like thinkers." The council fell silent again. For the first time, fear began to spread. Not fear of destruction, but fear of understanding something they could not predict. Far away, in the human colony system, life continued normally. No one there knew the galaxy was watching them. No one knew their actions were being analyzed as warfare tactics. They were not thinking about weapons. They were thinking about survival and creativity and using whatever they had available. A broken drone, repaired with spare parts. A mining laser repurposed for cutting space debris. A communication relay modified to interfere with enemy sensors. To humans, it was not war strategy. It was problem solving. Simple, practical, necessary. But in the galaxy beyond them, it was becoming something else entirely. A pattern was forming, a dangerous pattern, one that no species had ever faced before. Because every battle with humans was teaching the same lesson. If humans had nothing, they would turn nothing into something. And if they had something, they would turn it into everything. And in the silence of deep space, the Vorthak, Commander Jarok stared at the dark stars ahead, and finally said the words no officer ever wanted to say. "We are not prepared for them." Not because humans were stronger, but because humans were unpredictable, and unpredictability was the deadliest weapon of all. When humans refused to follow the rules, the galaxy did not recover from fear. Instead, it grew deeper. Every council system, every military fleet, every trade route was now watching the same thing. Humans, not because they were the strongest, but because they could not be predicted. After first encounter near the mining cluster, the Interstellar Council officially marked humans as unclassified tactical anomaly species. It was the first time such a category had ever been created. No one understood it fully, but everyone agreed on one thing. Humans were not normal. The council decision. In the central council chamber, tension filled the air again. The supreme speaker stood before hundreds of holographic representatives. He spoke slowly. "Direct war engagement has failed to give us results." A reptilian commander interrupted. "Because we are fighting them like a normal species." A mechanical intelligence responded. "They are not normal." Silence followed. The speaker continued. "Then we must observe them closely. We will send a control contact mission." That decision changed everything. Because humans had already seen war, but they had never seen observation turn into contact. The mission, Control First Contact, a small diplomatic fleet, was assembled. No weapons were activated. No aggressive systems were online. The mission was simple. Approach human territory. Observe behavior. Make peaceful contact. The fleet leader was an elite council diplomat named Oren Vess. He was known for calm thinking and perfect negotiation records. He believed humans could be understood easily. After all, every species followed logic once you studied them long enough. That was his mistake. Arrival at the human system. The fleet arrived near the human colony system called Helios Fringe. It looked ordinary. Small planets, mining stations, communication satellites. Nothing dangerous. Oren Vess checked the scans. No military signatures detected, he said. A junior officer relaxed. So they are truly weak. Oren replied carefully. Not weak. Unknown. They moved closer. That was the second mistake. The first signal. As the fleet entered orbit, something unexpected happened. A signal appeared. Not a warning. Not a threat. Just a simple transmission. It came from a human station. Oren activated it. A human voice appeared. Calm. Neutral. This is a restricted zone. Please identify your purpose. The council officers were surprised. The language was simple. No fear. No aggression. Just direct communication. Oren responded. We are peaceful representatives of the Interstellar Council. A pause followed. Then the human replied. Understood. Please remain in orbit. Do not approach surface. That was it. No hostility. No panic. Everything seemed stable. The unexpected human behavior. But then something strange happened. A small human mining drone moved toward the fleet. It was not armed. It was not fast. It looked harmless. One officer laughed. Is that their defense? But Oren raised his hand. Wait. The drone approached the fleet, then suddenly changed direction. It grabbed a floating piece of abandoned satellite debris and returned. The council officers watched silently. What is it doing? Someone asked. No one answered, because the drone attached the debris to itself. Then it activated a simple propulsion burst and launched it directly into orbit above the fleet. The debris exploded into a cloud of metallic fragments. It damaged 3 sensor arrays instantly. The fleet went into alert mode, but there was no attack signal, no weapon activation, just improvisation. Confusion begins. Oren stared at the readings. This was not a weapon strike. The tactical officer shouted. Then what was it? Oren hesitated. A resource used creatively. The fleet defense systems locked onto human stations. But Oren ordered, do not engage. The officers looked at him in disbelief. They attacked us. Oren replied calmly. No, they reacted to us. Human message number 2. Another transmission arrived. Same human station. Same calm voice. We notice foreign presence causing orbital disruption. Please avoid interference with mining operations. One officer snapped. They think we're the problem? But Oren felt something deeper. The humans were not trying to intimidate. They were trying to manage their environment. They did not see war. They saw disturbance. The council's hidden fear. Back at the council station, data analysts reviewed the encounter. They noticed something disturbing. Every human response followed a pattern. No fixed weapon systems, no defined military hierarchy in combat zones, immediate use of environment as tools, fast adaptation to any situation. One analyst whispered, they are not trained for war. Another replied, then why are they so effective in conflict? No one had an answer, because everything humans touched became useful. Even chaos. Vorthak observation report. Meanwhile, the Vorthak Legion had sent their own observation fleet. War Commander Jarok monitored silently. He watched the Council diplomatic mission carefully. Then he spoke. They are learning again. An officer asked, Who? Jarok replied, the humans. Because he noticed something the Council missed. Humans were not just reacting. They were improving. Every encounter made them faster, smarter, more unpredictable. The breaking point. Inside the human colony, something changed. A power fluctuation occurred. A storage unit failed. A communication tower flickered. To most species, it would be a disaster. But humans reacted instantly. Within minutes, drones repaired energy lines, mining tools were repurposed for structural support, communication systems were rerouted through backup networks. No panic, no confusion, just coordination. Oren watched the data. These humans, they fix everything immediately. A council officer replied, because they are afraid of failure? Oren shook his head slowly. No, because they expect it. The hidden truth. That was the moment something clicked in Oren's mind. Humans were not building perfect systems. They were building flexible ones. Everything there could be changed. Nothing was permanent. Even tools were temporary. Even structures were adaptable. Even machines were redesignable. And that meant one terrifying thing. If everything can change, everything can become a weapon. Sudden escalation. Without warning, another object appeared near the fleet. A large human cargo platform. It was drifting, inactive, but suddenly it activated. Not by command, not by attack signal, but by automated safety protocols. It rotated toward the fleet and released its entire cargo. Not explosives, not weapons, just raw industrial material. Metal rods, energy cores, construction parts. In space, motion itself becomes force. The cargo scattered violently. 2 council ships were damaged instantly. The fleet went into emergency retreat formation. Oren's realization. Oren Vest finally spoke with tension in his voice. Stop everything. The officers shouted. We are under attack. Oren repeated firmly. This is not an attack. He looked at the human colony below. They are not fighting us. A pause. They are using what they have to survive our presence. The fleet withdraws. Against protocol, Oren ordered retreat. The fleet slowly moved away from the system. No victory declared. No contact established. Just confusion left behind. As they left, the human station sent one final message. Thank you for maintaining safe distance. That line stayed in Oren's mind because it confirmed something no one wanted to accept. Humans did not see themselves as enemies. They saw everyone else as a possible disruption to their survival. Final scene of Part 2. Back in deep space, Jarok reviewed the council mission failure. He spoke quietly. They still do not understand them. An officer asked, Do we? Jarok paused, then answered, No. He looked at the dark stars. But I think we are starting to understand the danger, because humans were not breaking rules. They were ignoring the idea that rules were necessary in the first place, and that made them impossible to control. When the galaxy realized nothing is also a weapon, after the failed contact mission, the galaxy changed again, not with peace, not with war, but with uncertainty. The Interstellar Council could no longer classify humans as peaceful, but they also could not classify them as aggressive. So a new term was created in emergency session, adaptive survival combat species. Even the council members did not fully understand what it meant, but one thing was clear. Humans were no longer being observed. Now they were being feared. The Vorthack warning. Deep in military space, War Commander Jarok gathered his officers again. A red alert filled the command ship. He spoke without emotion. The council mission failed. An officer replied quickly, Because humans attacked them? Jarok shook his head. No, he paused. Because humans did not even recognize them as a threat. Silence filled the room. That was worse than defeat. Human expansion behavior. New data arrived from scout drones. Humans were expanding slowly across nearby systems, but not in a military way. No conquest fleets. No invasion signals. No declared wars. Instead, mining colonies appeared in asteroid belts. Research stations formed around gas giants. Communication networks spread like webs. Resource drones moved between systems constantly. It looked peaceful, but something was wrong, because every expansion point was self-defending, not with weapons, but with systems that changed behavior instantly. The unexpected weapon shift. One scout report changed everything. A human colony on Kepler Fringe. 7 had experienced a meteor storm. Normally, this would cause destruction, but humans reacted differently. They did not evacuate. They did not call for help. Instead, they reprogrammed their entire mining network. Mining lasers became interception beams. Transport drones became debris collectors. Storage units became shock absorbers. Even communication satellites were repositioned to guide incoming objects away. Within hours, the meteor storm became controlled chaos. And then something terrifying happened. The leftover debris was reused. They never waste anything. Jarok watched the footage carefully. A junior officer spoke. They are using destroyed material again. Another officer added, "This is not strategy. This is instinct." Jarok replied quietly, "It is survival intelligence." He leaned forward. They do not see destruction as loss. A pause. They see it as raw material. Council debate. Are humans even fighting? Back at the council, arguments became louder. A crystalline representative spoke. They are violating no-war laws because they are not declaring war. A reptilian commander added, but they are still winning conflicts. A mechanical intelligence responded. That is because they are not participating in conflicts the same way we define them. Confusion spread. One council member asked, "Then what are they doing?" The machine answered, "They are solving environmental problems that include enemy forces." That sentence caused silence across the chamber, because it reframed everything. Human engineering behavior observed. Another report arrived. A damaged human cargo ship had drifted near a hostile zone. Instead of calling for rescue, humans began repairs using nearby asteroid fragments. But they did not just repair. They improved. The ship was rebuilt into a modular structure mid-flight. Each section could detach, rotate, and reconnect. If attacked, the ship did not defend. It reconfigured. Attacks simply passed through empty space. One analyst whispered, "They are building systems that refuse to be targeted." Jarok's concern grows. War Commander Jarok stared at the reports for a long time. Finally, he spoke. "We keep thinking they are reacting." An officer replied, "Aren't they?" Jarok shook his head slowly. "No." He pointed at the screen. "They are designing responses before threats exist." That statement changed the mood, because it meant humans were not reactive. They were predictive. The first weaponization event. A new incident occurred near the human colony belt. A communications relay station failed. Under normal conditions, it would be a minor issue, but humans use it differently. They broke the relay into smaller components, then reconnected it across multiple satellites. The result was unexpected. The signal interference created a zone where enemy tracking systems failed completely. No one designed it for defense, but it became one. The council labeled it accidental tactical shield formation. Humans called it fixing the network. The fear begins to spread. For the first time, council fleets began refusing missions near human space, not because of orders, but because of experience. Every encounter followed the same pattern. Humans observe humans adapt environment becomes modified standard military logic fails unknown outcome emerges. No species could predict the result, and unpredictability in space warfare meant death. Human philosophy leak. Council intelligence intercepted human internal communication. It was not military code. It was a simple conversation. One human engineer said, "If something exists, it can be used." Another replied, "Even if it's broken?" First human answered, "Especially if it's broken." That line was repeated across council analysis boards because it explained everything. Vorthack fleet simulation failure. Jarok ordered a simulation. He wanted to predict human behavior. They created a control scenario. Human colony under attack, limited resources, no escape routes. The simulation began. Step 1. Humans reinforce structures. Step 2. Humans converted debris into functional systems. Step 3. Humans redirected environmental forces. Step 4. Attacking fleet lost targeting ability. Step 5. Simulation collapsed due to unpredictability overflow. The system returned an error message. Cannot simulate adaptive species behavior beyond model constraints. Jarok closed the report slowly. We cannot simulate them. The silent realization. A young officer finally asked a question no one wanted to say. Are humans dangerous or just smart? Jarok replied after a long silence. Neither. He looked at the dark space outside the viewport. They are unrestricted. That word changed everything. Because every species had limits. Biological limits. technological limits, cultural limits. But humans did not seem to stop. They simply continued adapting. The deep space incident. Another report arrived immediately. A human transport convoy had been attacked by unknown raiders. But something unexpected happened. Instead of fighting back directly, humans disconnected their ships into modular units. Each unit scattered in different directions. Then each unit became independent survival nodes. Some units hid, some repaired, some mimicked debris signatures. The raiders lost all tracking ability. Within hours, the raiders were gone, not destroyed, just lost. A council officer said. They didn't win the fight. Jarok replied. They removed the concept of fighting. The final observation of Part 3. Jarok stood alone in the command chamber later that night. He replayed all human encounters. Every situation followed the same evolution. What is broken becomes useful, what is useless becomes critical, what is random becomes strategy, what is chaos becomes design. He finally said quietly, "We thought they were improvising." A pause. But they are not improvising. He turned toward the stars. They are designing reality as they go. Ending hook. Across the galaxy. Fear was no longer about human weapons. It was about human thinking. Because every encounter proved one truth. Humans do not need weapons to fight. They turn everything into one. And the next contact would not be observation. It would be survival. When the galaxy learned humans were never using weapons, they were becoming them. The galaxy was no longer stable. The word human had become something no council member spoke casually anymore. It was not a species classification now. It was a warning, a system-level threat label. And yet, no one had ever seen a human invasion fleet. No one had seen a human empire expanding through conquest. There were no declarations of war, no war songs, no war parades, only encounters. And after every encounter, something strange happened. The battlefield did not look destroyed. It looked redesigned. The council's final emergency assembly, in the central council chamber, silence was heavier than ever. Representatives from every major species were present. Even factions that never agreed on anything now shared the same concern. Humans. The supreme speaker of the council stood slowly. His voice was tired. We have reviewed all encounters. A pause. And we have reached a conclusion. Every hologram leaned forward. The speaker continued. We cannot define human warfare using our current laws. A reptilian commander interrupted. Then create new laws. The speaker shook his head. We tried. He raised the data shard. It broke every classification model. The problem no one could solve. A mechanical intelligence spoke next. It is not that humans are strong. A crystalline being added. It is not that they are advanced. The machine continued. It is that they do not separate tools from environment. A pause. They treat everything as usable. Silence filled the chamber again, because that statement explained every failure. The final report from Jarok, War Commander Jarok, appeared in the council projection. His fleet had been tracking human space activity for cycles. He looked older now, not physically, but mentally. He spoke clearly. We observed a full-scale human response event near Orion border. The council listened carefully. Jarok continued. It was not a battle. A pause. It was transformation. The Orion border incident begins. A hostile alien coalition had attempted to invade a neutral system near human-controlled space. They expected no interference. Human colonies were not military zones. At least that was a belief. The coalition deployed 3 fleets. Heavy weapons, energy shields, long-range disruptors. They positioned themselves for quick occupation. But they made one mistake. They entered too close to human infrastructure zones. Humans do not respond immediately. At first, nothing happened. No ships moved. No weapons activated. No warnings were sent. The coalition thought it was safe. One commander laughed. They are watching. Another replied. Then let them watch. But in human systems, silence did not mean fear. Silence meant preparation. The environment begins to change. First, asteroid fields shifted slightly. Not naturally, but through controlled mining route adjustments. Then communication relays activated across multiple systems, not as alerts, but as synchronization networks. Then cargo ships changed direction, not to flee, but to reposition. Every movement seemed random, but it was not. It was coordinated adaptation. The first shock, the coalition fleet noticed interference. Their sensors began failing, not due to attacks, but due to signal overlap. Human systems were not jamming them. They were reshaping the electromagnetic environment itself. One officer shouted, "Our targeting systems are losing stability." Another responded, "Where's the attack coming from?" The answer was terrifying. Everywhere and nowhere, because the environment itself had become hostile to invasion. The humans finally respond. A transmission appeared. Simple human voice. Calm. No aggression. Just clarity. This region is under continuous operational maintenance. Your presence is interfering with system stability. The coalition commander shouted, "This is not your territory." A pause followed. Then the human reply came, "It is where we live." That sentence ended all debate, because it was not a claim of ownership. It was a statement of existence. The true human strategy revealed. Jarok watched carefully from deep space surveillance. He finally understood. Humans were not defending territory. They were maintaining systems. Everything they built was interconnected. Everything adapted. Everything evolved. So, when an enemy entered that system, it was not attacked. It was absorbed into environmental instability. The coalition's collapse begins. The invading fleets tried to engage, but nothing behaved normally. Weapons misfired due to recalibrated gravity fields. Navigation systems drifted due to altered asteroid positioning. Energy shields destabilized due to signal interference loops. Nothing was destroyed directly, but everything stopped functioning correctly. One commander screamed, "This is not war." Another replied, "Then what is it?" A final officer answered, "We are inside their system now." Human Final Adjustment Protocol. Deep in human colonies, engineers activated a final response protocol. It was not labeled military. It was labeled Environmental Stability Correction Cycle. Massive infrastructure systems activated. Mining lasers recalibrated into debris redirection grid satellites formed adaptive communication shields cargo systems, redistributed mass for gravitational balance drone swarms restructured orbital traffic flows. Everything worked together, not to fight, but to normalize the system. An invading fleet was an anomaly inside it. The disappearance of the invading fleet. Within hours, coalition ships stopped functioning as coherent units. They were not destroyed. They were isolated, separated, repositioned by environmental force interactions until communication broke completely. One by one, they lost coordination, and then they retreated, not because they were ordered, but because staying made no sense anymore. Council reaction. Fear turns into understanding. Back at the council chamber, no one spoke for a long time. Finally, a young analyst whispered, "They didn't destroy the fleet." A senior commander replied, "They removed its ability to exist as a fleet." That sentence became the most important conclusion ever recorded, because it changed the definition of warfare. Jarok's final statement. War Commander Jarok gave his last report. "We believe humans were using everything as weapons." He paused. "But that is incorrect." A silence followed. "They are not using tools as weapons." He looked at the council projection. "They are using weapons as tools, and tools as environment, and environment as strategy." He lowered his head slightly. "There is no separation for them." The final human message. A final transmission arrived from the human system. It was not addressed to the council. It was not addressed to anyone. It was broadcast across open space. The message was simple. System stability restored. Please avoid future disruption. No threat. No warning. Just closure. The last realization. The council speaker stood slowly. His voice was quiet. "We tried to understand their weapons." He paused. "But we were asking the wrong question." A silence spread across the chamber. The question was never what their weapons are. He looked at the gathered species. It is what they consider a weapon. Final ending scene. Far beyond the council space. Human colonies continued normal life. Engineers repaired systems. Miners expanded operations. Drones adjusted orbital patterns. Children studied basic engineering principles. No one called it warfare. No one called it strategy. It was simply life. Adapted, flexible, unstoppable. And in deep space, War Commander Jarok stared at the stars one last time. He finally understood the truth. Humans were never trying to build weapons. They were building a reality where everything already was won, and that could never be defeated, only survived. Final end. Humans prove anything can be a weapon in battle. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to subscribe to the channel and support us. It really helps us grow and bring more videos like this. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.